This is our Tuesday, December 10th, 2025, and we'll call this meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Reveal. Lead us in prayer.
We all bow our heads. Heavenly Father, right now, we'd just like to thank you. We'd like to thank you for the convening of our residents, of our citizens, and our leaders in your assembly here today. We'd like to ask, Father God, that you give us all the courage to be able to lead with conviction and commitment to all that we serve in our community, espousing and holding true to the ideals of upholding truth. We'd like to also ask that you protect and bless those and offer strength to those right now who are suffering devastations all throughout this country, wherever they are. We'd like to ask that you heal the land and be able to give sense of understanding of those who are grappling right now, trying to figure out what's going on and what's their next direction, and that you allow us to become more united as community, knowing that the concerns of one area affects the concerns of us all. And these are all the blessings we just like to ask, and we like to thank you in your son Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Okay, we'll move to adoption to the minutes, regular meeting minutes. Is there any changes, Mr. Steve?
None from council, none from staff, unless council has any.
Is there any from council? Is there a motion?
So
For a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. We'll move on to presentations, celebrations, and recognitions. Up first is Beaufort County School District Character Student of the Month. Y'all have a second one? I don't think we have but one, and y'all know who that is. Gerard. If his family wants to come up with him.
Teachers
Sure.
are there too.
Oh, how are you? Nice to meet you, sir. So, we have this for you. Would somebody like to tell us a little bit about this gentleman? You have a teacher here? Or?
Yeah, we have a whole group.
Yes, come on up.
So, Gerard got respect because he is amazing. He is
Let's
such a
slide up
great.
this way over here so the camera can see you. So are you his teacher?
I am.
Okay.
I am. He is such a great. He is such a great friend. Don't cry, you're making me cry.
It's all right, buddy.
He is such a great friend to others and always includes his classmates and listens to his teachers. And he has a couple teachers, not just me, and he is a model student in every class.
Great. Well, I can tell already, and I just met you a while ago, you got a big heart. Give me 5. All right, this is for you. We got some other little goodies. How about a couple of these? You have to be really special to get them. And
Thank you.
you're welcome. And this has got some more goodies in it. So, okay.
Can I get a picture? Y'all might have to squeeze in. He's got a big group.
Oh, yeah.
All right, okay. I'm gonna take a couple. Okay, excellent, thank you.
But you got somebody that's going to accept this?
none of them were able to get out of work.
Oh. Excuse me.
She's stepping up.
I know.
Up next, we have the Martin Luther King Proclamation for 2025. Whereas January 15th, 1929 was the birthday of a great American, the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who gave his life for love, peace, and justice. And whereas Dr. Reverend Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration is sponsored and hosted annually by the Bluffton Martin Luther King Jr. Observance Committee. And whereas the town of Bluffton is committed to pursuing the ideas of justice, love, and peace, and in Bluffton's 40th celebration, the theme shall be Mission Possible, Protecting Freedom, Justice, and Democracy in the Spirit of Nonviolence 365. Now, therefore, I, Larry Toomer, the mayor of town of Bluffton, along with Bluffton Town Council, do hereby designate and proclaim Monday, January 20th, 2025, as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in the town of Bluffton. And you want to say something about all your events and all that kind of stuff?
I do. Well, thank you, Mayor, and the town for giving us the proclamation. It is the 40th anniversary of the Bluffton MLK Committee's observance. It was founded by the Black churches here in Bluffton, and so we're very excited to be able to continue hosting these events. So on Friday, we have our 40th banquet at the Rotary Community Center, where Pastor Jeff Lawson of the Grace Community Life Church will be our speaker. Tickets are $35 for that event. On Saturday, we have a Gospel Gullah Shout Hour that will be hosted at Campbell Chapel AME Church, and that is free to the public. That begins at 3 o'clock, and it's going to include all of the churches, their meal groups, ring shouters, some other things. Definitely be a great event if you're looking to come out for that. And on Monday, we will end with our Memorial Youth Program that's going to be hosted right here at the May River Theater. And the new pastor of Campbell Chapel AME Church will be our speaker to address that afternoon. And we'll also have a lot of performances from our area youth. And then we'll leave from there and begin a march and parade through Bluffton that will be led by Bluffton Bluffton High's Junior ROTC program. And we will end at the Oyster Factory Park for a community unity picnic. And this year we'll have an oyster roast. We also always have like a lunch buffet with a lot of area food partners. It's also free to the public, and a hot dog chili bar that's being sponsored by the new Delta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha. So please come out and join us. You can see all these events on our Facebook page, and I believe the town sent a press release out also acknowledging those events. So we hope to see the community there. Thank you again.
You're very
Can I
welcome.
get a picture just of
Sure.
the two of them?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I need one too. It's for Bridget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, up next, we'll have the annual Palmetto Bluff Development Agreement update. Mr. Will Howard with South Street Partners.
Hey, good evening, Mayor and Council. Good to see everybody. Happy New Year. Brian, can you pull that PowerPoint up? Thank you. All right, yeah, I'm here for our annual development agreement update. 2024 was a great year for us, and we think 2025 is going to be even better. We've got some new real estate offerings we're excited about as far as some new development. Plan to be near opening a new golf course that we have under construction, and some other amenities that we're working on. Just want to go over real quickly. This is our total sales volume for the year. We were very close to overall sales of 2021, which was a banner year for us. We had 384 million in total sales. Majority of those were actually resale homes. We did see an uptick in sale of our developer lots over 23, and I think 23. You may remember we were kind of running out of inventory because of all the lots that we sold more lots faster than we could get them ready and developed. 2023, they fell off. They picked back up in 24 when we released some new inventory in the middle of the year. And then we have some new offerings coming up that I think we're going to even see better numbers in 25 on our developer lots. The overall units, even though we were just a few million shy of the numbers in 21, our sales volume was half the number of units. So obviously, real estate prices are on the rise, which is good for us, good for our property owners. You know, they've gained a tremendous amount of equity in their home, and you can see, I'm going to jump ahead to one slide and I'll come back. But the amount of equity that our property owners gained in the last 5 years, 2019, the average price per square foot of a home sale was what, $455? Now we're up over $800 a square foot average. And in fiscal year 24, we actually had 1/4 of all the homes resale homes that closed, resale or new, 1/4 of those homes closed at over $1,000 a square foot. And then let's go back to the number of, we're currently at 1,153 COs, certificates of occupancy. So that's 1,153 completed homes that we have against our permitted rights of 4,000 that we're allowed to build per the development agreement. In addition to those 1,153, we have another 380 that are either under construction, waiting for CO, or in the DRB review process that will allow them to pull a building permit. Some of the projects that we have in the works, apologize for the size of this, but for those of you that are familiar, we have Block I, what we call Block I, which is just west of the area that we refer to as Wilson Village. We've been involved in, for almost close to 9 months, we've been planning with our planning team in Hart Howerton, planning the layout of Block I, which will offer 60 additional lots. It will also offer a short-term rental component. That's very popular with a lot of property owners are seeking investment homes, or the ability to do short-term rental if they so choose. We will offer that in Block I. We're still in the planning stage, but there's a possibility that we could get that permitted, start the permitting process this year, and then we'd be able to start construction in the fourth quarter, if not the first quarter of 25. Blocks M6 and M7, if you could look on that, is this pointer working, Just a cursor? Okay. So if you look here at the golf course, you can see we have blocks. This is the 9-hole golf course that we opened this year. 9-hole reversible routing. I'll go into that just a little detail later, but we have about 36 lots that we have in the permitting process right now. And what is different about these lots is not only do they have golf views, but we have almost half of them that also will have access to the inland waterway. When we expanded this 9-hole course, we extended the inland waterway to surround it. So that will allow anyone who has electric boat within Palmetto Bluff could actually take their electric boat to the Crossroads Golf Course or the Crossroads amenities that we also have in long-term planning. But that's some of the additional real estate offerings that I was talking about that we're looking to see. Hopefully that will kind of a diversity of an expansion of M4 and Moreland Forest, and also M6 and M7, which offers the golf in the inland waterway. And just next to the golf course, again, it's what we call the Crossroads area. We've been involved in long-term planning of the Crossroads amenities. Our plan is, this is kind of ground central for Palmetto Bluff. It's about halfway between Wilson Village and halfway between the south end of the property of Anson Marina and Anson Village. So we feel this is a good central point for us to include family-friendly sports activities, probably a large fitness center, possibly a pool, racket sports, sports fields, athletic fields, dog park. So we are involved in the long-term planning for that. Hope to start permitting the first phase of that this year. Takes about 9 minutes to get, 9 months to get a permit. That tees us up to potentially start the development on these amenities in the first quarter of the first quarter of 26. One thing that we will be starting construction next month is the first few phases of the road to Anson. As many of you are aware, we had to start construction of our Anson Marina a few years ago so that we could obtain substantial completion of that marina to extend our marina permit. We did so and then received a legislative extension all through the state legislature. So we have completed about 90% of that marina. One thing that we will need is the permanent utilities, the water and the sewer, so that we can operate the marina and the office. The only way we can do that is by building that 6 mile or so road that we will tie in, come off of Old Moreland Road as you go to Moreland Village. And we'll be building the first few phases of that road that will get us from Old Moreland up, and we'll see if I can find it. From Old Moreland here, we'll go up and around the golf course, past the crossroads amenities, into this area here. That's the first few phases that we hope to complete this year. With that, we'll be adding all the necessary utilities that will allow us to start construction of crossroads amenities in 26. And then we plan to extend that road about another 18 months worth of construction to get us down to the Anson. So we're looking to finish that road hopefully in first quarter of 27. One other thing that we are really excited about, I've been really excited as a golfer and as a young golfer that idolized, as a young golfer that idolized Ben Crenshaw. I've been fortunate enough to be working with Ben Crenshaw and Bill Core on the construction, design and construction of our new Anson golf course, which we plan to open in first quarter of next year.
Well,
Yes, sir.
the 6 miles, I guess it's 2-lane.
Yes, sir.
How much of an investment is that?
With the utilities, because it's not just the road. So with the utilities, probably be about 35 million when we're all said and done.
So is the marina being used yet for anything or no?
No.
It's not?
No, we're not using the marina. As Mr. Finger knows, we've been working to seek a variance from the flood ordinance to allow us to get a variance to build our dock master's office without, those of you who aren't familiar, the flood maps changed from the time our marina was permitted to the time we went to build the dock master's office. A wind velocity zone now bisects the office, and because of that, we would be required, without a variance, to build that building all to the standards within the flood ordinance, which would require it to be elevated, would require floodproofing, would require us to put an elevator for ADA access to the bathroom that's required. Now we've had to do that on the second floor. That little 1,100 square foot building was going to, under that method of construction, was going to cost us over $4 million, and that's just not a reasonable investment.
So are you making progress on that variance?
We are. It's a little more involved process because we're having to go through line item by line item of the flood ordinance for anything within that flood ordinance that would apply to our our construction. We had to redesign the building, so that took some time. But we are, we do plan to get that variance this year and then hopefully can invest the capital next year to rebuild the office. Thank you. Good. Crossroads Golf Course, we did open that golf course this year. We built that in record time. I've been involved with several golf course construction projects. This is the only one I've actually built start to finish in a year. Again, the Port Crenshaw 18-hole golf course on about 300 acres. There are no homes on that golf course. And it has several stunning marsh views of the New River and the surrounding marsh. PV Builders, as many of you know, when South Street, after they acquired Palmetto Bluff, South Street started their own home building company. In the past, there was the Builders Guild, which relied on several independent home builders. South Street had a little bit different program, started their own home building company, Palmetto Bluff Builders. So in 9 homes, and in 2024, 9 homes were closed on that PV Builders had built. We started a little project in Block M2 called The Grove. It's 12 lots, 3 different home plans to choose from. We expect that actually to be sold out in probably the second quarter of 25. We're also, in addition to that, PV Builders is working on some signature luxury homes in that same block of Moreland Forest, so it's a little bit larger design, up in the 4,000 feet footprint. And we also plan to be taking down 12 lots to build Palmetto Bluff building homes in Moreland Forest Block M4. That's 81 lots that we released last year. I've sold several of the waterfront lots on that, and now we're starting to slowly chip away and sell some of the interior lots as well. So we're excited about that. Montage. Montage signed a lease in 2014, so it's their 10-year anniversary, was 2024. I'm sorry, Montage. There we go, 10 years anniversary at Palmetto Bluff. They continue to have strong occupancy. They have, it looks like, over almost 27,000 room nights. They continued great success with their wedding program, over 54 million in revenue, over 54 million weddings with revenue exceeding $9 million for those. A-tax paid to the town was over 1.6 million for all the rooms Montage. And then as well, our club capital improvement program. The club operates as a nonprofit, but we are always reinvesting into the club, into the amenities to maintain the quality that, that our members expect. So in 2024, we invested over 3.2 million in capital improvements for club amenities, for everything from adding irrigation to the horse paddocks for Longfield stables to HVAC replacements and some of our restaurants, roof replacements at the May River Golf Cart Bar. So that is our 2024 in a nutshell, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I also have with me today is Gray Ferguson, who's the Chief Operating Officer of Palmetto Bluff, and he's here in case you have any operational questions.
Any questions from council, Ms. Burton? Mr. Hamilton? Mr. Wood?
Curious, you mentioned short-term rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Is that only by the South Street Partners, or is that by others through the community, or how's that work?
Well, I mean, short-term rentals, We don't have a short-term rental program specifically, but an individual, if their home is within an area that allows short-term rental, they can do it themselves through VRBO or Airbnb, or they can hire a management company to take care of that for them. Some people also will enter into a contract with Montage and let Montage use their home as a short-term rental.
Thank you.
So there's, oh, sorry, go ahead, Bridget.
Great presentation. Well, I do have a question. Looking at, you all on trend in terms of where you started with home sales and everything. What's the percentage of where you guys are in terms of like, how far along are you in your build out?
So we have 1,153 COs, 380 more under review, or in construction. We have permitted rights to 4,000. So we are a little over 25% there, almost a third of the way there.
When you were, the new development that you're starting, you said it was gonna be like 60 homes or something, some of them would be allowed?
Some of, yeah,
Short-term
in
rentals?
Block I.
Block I.
Yeah, in Block I, which is adjacent to West Wilson, which already offers short-term rental. We're just extending that. Some of those homes, not all of them, will be eligible for short-term rental. And that's something that's disclosed to, any purchaser that comes in. A lot of them will ask, and they're looking for, hey, I want to look at anything that's available for short-term rental. And then there are some people that will say, if this is short-term rental, I don't want to be in here. I want to go down to Moreland Forest where it's not allowed.
If I may, Mayor?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
So, here's Heather. I believe the town, Heather, if you catch me here, I think the town has 5,000 units roughly left for build out.
That's part of
Part of
Kevin's
it. Anyway,
presentation, so he
I
has
was
the
going to
numbers.
say that it appears that whatever that number is, that half of that roughly is going to be in Pembina Bluff.
Or more.
Or more. Okay. All right.
Anything else from council? Thank you, Mr. Will.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Up next, we have Town of Bluffton Annual Development Agreement Update. Mr. Kevin?
Yes, sir.
I'm back at work.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you. And I'll have some of the information specifically for Palmetto Bluff, but I'm more of a high-level approach for the development agreement update. So just for people in the audience, what is a development agreement? It's a legal binding agreement between the local government and property owners for long-term development of large tracts of land. Palmetto Bluff is one of approximately 19,000 acres, so that's a large tract of land. It's used as a tool to manage growth. It establishes clear expectations for maximum build-out, as we've talked about here. And it provides certain dedications such as schools, parks, roads, etc. A great example would be Bluffton Parkway and Buckwalter Parkway were both constructed because of the development agreements that came through. And it does lock in these land use regulations for initial approval. The documentation that we know exactly when these expire. So what can be changed is you can make modifications. And as you know, we actually just went through one of those modifications with the 13th Amendment to the Buckwalter PUD. So it is possible, as long as the parties agree, based off of what information they are looking to change. So here's a copy of the zoning map. You can see we have areas that are in the PUDs or planned unit developments are in the mint green color there. And then the other areas of different colors represent properties that are regulated by the Unified Development Ordinance. So a couple of highlights. Over the past year, we've had a couple of annexations and rezonings. So the first one, as you remember, this was the Bryant family annexation where they annexed the property into the residential general. We have most recently the university investment properties that are located here off of the two parkways. The Kitty Feral Gas rezoning, which rezoned the properties from that residential general to the industrial. And then we had the expiring of the Bluffton Village PUD. This information is in the packet. This is provided every year. It's very difficult to read on this screen. I understand that. But this helps to track where all of these, all the development agreements, when they expire, the total number of units, total acreage, the value of construction year over year. I like to use this slide. I think this actually kind of helps to explain this over the past year, the difference. So we talked about Bluffton Village that came through. We expired that PUD and development agreement and incorporated it into the Unified Development Ordinance. And then we annexed additional lands into the Buckwalter PUD. So you can see that we've had some increases year over year for development. Just the biggest ones I always like to point out, specifically for New Riverside Village, you can see that this past year we had a 5% increase in residential development. So you can see that that's the area of growth, the biggest area of growth, as well as Palmetto Bluff with the 2%. Overall, we've had a total increase of 2% for residential, and that's up to that 84% of that total number that we talked about. Now, on the commercial, it says it's 32%, and it's been a decline. The reason that it's a decline, so you have to remember, we actually added additional units, or the additional acreage. So when we annexed in the university investments, we added more acreage, and what that does is it adds to that total number. So the total number of acreage that is allowed for commercial, it increases the number. Well, what that does is since there's no additional changes in the commercial, it kind of decreases the percentage. So don't pay necessarily too much that it was a decrease, but that we added additional acreage to our development agreements. Just quickly, from a building permit standpoint, I've kind of highlighted here that over the fiscal year, and we've done this to align with budgeting purposes as opposed to the calendar year, that we are roughly consistent with the number of building permits that have been issued for the fiscal year of July 2023 through June 2024. We had over 436 single-family permits that were issued. I pulled this out. This is for the calendar year, and this is to give you an idea of that the development summary of this document right here. This area located approximately right here, this is for new construction. And you can see that the building permits were, for the calendar year, were 345 permits. And then we issued almost 800 certificate of occupancies. So remember that a building permit can start in one year, and then it'll be approved in the following year. So just make sure you understand that, sometimes buildings take a lot longer. Like buildings in Palmetto Bluff will take a lot longer when it's a lot bigger, as opposed to a tract-built house that is just being pushed out relatively quickly. So that's just a high-level overview of kind of where we're going. Again, in your consent agenda, you'll notice that we provide monthly updates of a lot of documentation. It's very informative on value of construction, number of COs, number of building permits, and it's compounded by month and year over year. So you can definitely see some trends when you start to dig down in there. I'm happy to answer any questions, but that's really all I have for just the update for the agreements.
We'll start with you, Bridget. Just an observation for the event that somebody may not know, but these development agreements were written in the late 1990s and early 2000s, so nobody, this table was here then. I think during the Great Recession, the state of South Carolina extended the duration of those contracts. Is that the point?
Yes, sir. It was a totaling of approximately 9 years, so an additional 9 years, in essence, were added to all of these agreements.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Allen?
Well, thank you. Ms. Burton?
Just a great job on the presentation. I think this is something I get questions most often about is when these development agreements were put in place, why can't we slow the growth or stop the building? And I think this presentation really does a great job of explaining it. So I'd love to get this information out to the community.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and looks like to me the finish line as far as residential, it's in sight.
It's getting there. Yes, absolutely.
Closer, anyway.
Yes, sir. All right, great. Thank you so
All right,
much.
thank you, Coach. Next, we'll have the annual update from Bluffton Police Department Mental Health Advocate, Lisa.
Good evening, Mayor and Town Council members. I'm happy to be here to review my report for the year. And Happy New Year to all of you.
You would slide that mic over or?
And Happy New Year to all of you. I'm happy to be here to give you my report. Is that better, sir?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, just arrow buttons.
Darrell, thank you. Okay, so I have a chart here for the statistics for 2023 and 2024. I wasn't here in 2023, my predecessor Hannah was. I started in June of 2024, but this is a comparison of the numbers. So for officer referrals, we had 99 in 2023, and it was up slightly this year with 108. And the follow-ups, those are when I follow up on the referrals or with people that I'm already working with as a client. So in 2023, we had 227. Again, that's up slightly to 240 follow-ups for this year. And then the supplemental reports are the reports that I write based on those follow-ups with information and the referrals that I made for the person or their family. And as you can see, that's up slightly also. It was 125 in 2023 and 130 for 2024. And overall, approximate numbers of people that were assisted through our mental health advocacy and coordination. In 2023, it's 95 and up slightly to 125 for 2024. So I just put a little synopsis of what I did since I started in June of this year as the mental health advocate. In the first 30 days, I attended roll call with the officers to meet the patrol officers and to receive information about calls or people in the community that might need assistance or connection with resources. And I also began monitoring 911 calls for community members who may need connection with mental health services or intervention. I followed up on those calls, either on phone, email, text message, or in person. And I also had the pleasure of connecting with a lot of community members and community groups to collaborate to serve the community. And these are some of the groups, just a few that I've connected with and made some partnerships with, and we're working really well to bring resources to our community members. And one of the ones I mentioned was South Carolina Department of Mental Health, also known as Coastal Empire. And we formed a good working relationship together, sharing information and resources and bringing services to make sure that clients are receiving proper care and connection to mental health resources. And in addition, they have a law enforcement embedded clinician that serves all of Beaufort County. And I work in collaboration with her. Her name is Casey. And they also have an after-hours crisis team that I personally, reached out to and worked with since I've been here for the last 5.5 months or so. And they're really good too. And they're available for after-hour calls, to assist our officers with people that might need help and resources in an emergency situation. And that's been a good bond also to work with them. And these are some of the community events that I've been happy to attend. This particular one is Shop with a Cop. It was a really great event. And as you can see, it was a great turnout. And I just listed some of the other ones that I attended, and I was able to meet with community members and let them know about my position and how I can help and just kind of spread the word amongst the community and let them know about the resources that are out there if they know anyone personally that might need help. So I was happy to attend and participate in these group events. Another great initiative is officer wellness is another thing that, in addition to community mental health, our police officers and their mental wellness and taking into account the stressors of the law enforcement profession. there's an initiative, we're using the Cortico Wellness app, and that's an interactive personal app. We're in the process of implementing that now. Sergeant Perkins is the sergeant that is working with me, or I'm working with him, I should say, to implement this application. And it's really great because it's, like I said, a personal app, and it guarantees that the counselors or the professionals that the officers will be partnered with, that they're vetted and specifically trained to work with first responders and law enforcement officers. They understand the situations that are unique to their profession and the stressors that they encounter every day and how it affects, their family and themselves. And they'll be able to tailor the app based on their own needs or preferences as well. And it offers 24/7 support and connection for their wellness and to promote their mental resilience. And I think that's a really important thing as well. And then these are just some of the future goals that I have for my position and for helping the community. I'm really happy to be here, and it's been very busy but very positive in a good way, helping a lot of people so far, and I hope to continue that. One of the things is the full implementation of the Cortico Officer Wellness app. We're in the process of doing that, and a peer support program, as I said, to connect officers with counseling or support, whatever they need for their specific situation. I'm going to continue to create public awareness and education about mental health, to destigmatize. Some people still feel the stigma related to that and are resistant to asking for help or unsure about it. So I want to continue to let people know what's out there and to educate and make them aware of the resources that are there. And I've been doing that with Miss Edie Moody, who's works in the department with me, and she does all the Facebook and Instagram and the social media platforms. And it's been great working with her to get the information out there, because I feel like people are on social media a lot and they'll see it, they'll see the information, and it's a good place, a good way to reach community members, with information and the resources that we have here. And of course, like I said, I've enjoyed the community events and meeting people and finding out, what's important to them, what their needs are, and connecting them as much as I can with resources. I've also worked with some of the professionals in the school districts, the counselors and social workers, and we have a good working rapport as well, connecting and just making sure everybody is getting the proper care and connection. And then one of the things that I think would be really important would be to form like a regional committee or a round table with different groups, with our mental health partners, like an interdisciplinary group meeting, maybe quarterly or something like that, just to see where we all are, share information and resources, and just assess like how we're doing and how it's going and what we can do better and things like that. So that's something that I hope to do in the future. So I'm open to any questions that anybody has or concerns.
Thank you for your presentation and your work here in this advocacy with our PD. I have a few questions, but just a little bit of backdrop to this. Is a program definitely near and dear to my heart. Before you came on board and before our chief came into position, this was something I advocated for and had great and unanimous support with my council members at the time, because it was important to know that as we do want to reform how we look at policing, we know that mental health carries a stigma that it should not have, because a person in crisis is not a criminal. And police officers are trained to deal with criminals, and that's their job. And so, it's good for them to do that, and then we bring in professionals to help someone who needs that help. So with that being said, I love the direction and the thing that you're incorporating and what you're doing. Long-term goal that we had is to be able to develop, a crisis team to be embedded with our PD to be able to assist that. So I do have a few questions for you. So In the role that you're currently in, are you licensed or certified as a behavior mental therapist or specialist?
I have crisis intervention training and I have a psychology degree, but I'm not a licensed professional counselor. I don't think that the mental health clinicians through South Carolina DMH, most of them are not licensed counselors either. But I don't have a licensure now, not currently.
And I asked that because I know you mentioned Coastal Empire and Omega Francis, who's been a great and like a long-term person in the community mental health for about 4 decades, and I know they have great resources that I think we could benefit from and relying on. That would be great because I know currently when our previous person would come on to de-escalate or assist officers, she was limited in what she was able to do because of not having those certifications. So I think it's important that if we're gonna, invest and kind of lead the way in this program, that if that's something that we need to empower you to have, or we want to make this program really robust, I would like to see that. And you mentioned the work that you're currently doing with schools. Is it a partnership where you guys really are working in harmony, or are you not completely embedded yet to be able to address some of the issues that our SROs might be dealing with within our school systems?
Oh, with the SROs, I am definitely working with them. I've worked with the counselors and the social workers, but of course there's a limit with privacy issues and consent things, but as much as we can, and we've connected people in one specific case, there was a child who needed a psychological because of an incident that was happening in school and outside of school, and there were some legal issues occurring. And I was able to reach out to Right Direction Services and work with the social worker from the school, as well as Dr. Stevens from Right Directions, and we were able to get that psychological done more quickly and get him counseling and into the services as well. So I have been working as much as I can with the counselors and social workers, and of course for good reason. There's that privacy issue with the consent, so it's a limited in a certain regard, but with the SROs, we're right next to each other, working side by side basically with the information that way.
I'm glad to hear that. My last point on that, in knowing that everyone's limited in terms of what support is out there for mental health, but it's such a big part of the health of any community. I would love to be able to see what steps we can take to kind of create some measurable goals or even help you in your work with SROs. I sadly attended a funeral about 2 months ago of a Bluffton High student who committed suicide, and I know that the family and I think some there were struggling with what resources or follow-up services were available. And I think it's great knowing that we have and pay for our SROs in our Bluffton schools. If we can do anything to help any of our kids who are also in crisis, or whether it's helping educators also kind of get an understanding around that, I would love to see us grow our program in a sense of utilizing those who are in the community like Coastal Empire or South Carolina Department of Mental Health to really make it where, we're being even as effective as what you're doing now. So thank you for your presentation and your work, and that it's definitely needed in our community. Thank you.
Mr. Wood?
I just want to say thank you. We're glad you're here, and your services are desperately needed, and we appreciate what you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much.
You need to come back when you think that there's more that you want to do and your hands are tied. Come back to us.
I definitely will, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
I just had one, just curious, and maybe you can answer this one. I was wondering roughly what percentage of the people that you deal with are school age compared to, and I mean, I know I'm not asking for specifics, but maybe 10%, 30%, 40%, 5%?
It's definitely 50% or greater, I would think. I don't have the actual numbers in front of me, but it's a large percentage. I would say school age up to even 20s, early 30s. That's my largest group that I've been helping, I would say, and then some elderly people.
Sure.
With different issues, but there's definitely a need. And I've been I've been helpful with a lot of people and connecting them, and I stay in touch with them and follow up, and I'm happy to report that a lot of them are doing really fabulous.
So you would say roughly 50% or more
Yes, sir.
are school age?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Need more of you.
That's it?
Thank you for your time.
Okay, up next, we'll start our public comment. During public comment, each speaker is limited to a total of 3 minutes per meeting, regardless of whether the person is speaking on their own behalf or as an agent for others. Meeting attendees may not donate, transfer, yield, or give all or any portion of their speaking time to another person. All public comments are to be conducted from the podium and directed to the town council as a whole and not to any member thereof. All speakers shall be mindful and respectful of those participating in or present at the meeting. Speakers shall be expected to be civil in their language and shall refrain from comment or behavior that involves disorderly speech or action, name-calling, personal attacks, threats, obscene or indecent remarks, and/or disruptive actions. All speakers shall confine their comments to the issues under the jurisdiction of the town council. Speakers shall not use the public comment period to promote or advertise awards, businesses, services, goods, or candidates for public office. Any speaker that violates these rules and protocols for the public comment may be ruled out of order by the presiding officer, and any person whose comments have been ruled out of order shall immediately cease and desist from further improper comments. The refusal of an individual to desist from further improper comments may subject the individual to removal from the meeting and/or a citation under Section 2-49 of the Town Code. And up first, we'll have Ms. Sharon Brown.
There you go. Hey, Happy New Year, everybody. That's for all of you guys, too. So I'm Sharon Brown. I live at 163 Buck Island Road in Bluffton. So I want to start out, it looks like you guys have a new pledge, this stability pledge. This is new? Can anybody answer that stability pledge? Is this new? It's not? Okay, so it looks like you got some stuff I've not seen, but it says, we pledge to build a stronger and more prosperous community by advocating for civil engagement, respecting others and their viewpoints, and finding solutions for the betterment of the town of Bluffton. Look at me, Mayor, when I'm talking. As a citizen, as of 2025, citizens residing in Goethe Road and Buck Island Road and Simmonsville Road continue to experience a lack of equality standards and boundaries within our community. Despite being taxpayers, we are not treated equally in terms of neighborhood beautification, entrepreneurship, home ownership, and mobile home setups. The rule seems to be very inconsistent. While acknowledging past accomplishment, it is essential to recognize we still have some shortcomings. Moving forward, equality will be a fundamental principle for diversity and inclusion. I envision and look forward to a future here in Bluffton where we once had equality, where it prevails and we triumph, walk together in victory for the betterment of our community. Now, I said that because I had a young man send me some information, and this is pertaining to the police department, that he feels that he's steady being targeted from the police department, fears for his life. You know, he sent a video where numerous policemen were there. I don't know where the location was because I didn't ask him, but this is what he said, and it just touched my heart, because I don't think we should live in a community where we have the protection of the police department spend so much money. The money that we spend is well warranted, but we don't need to be placed in different little pockets. So he said, I stay in my car and I don't have nothing going on. I can't even drive my car in the day to look for jobs. He says he doesn't feel safe. He doesn't need protection from the police department. And he says, and myself, I just need to really to be left alone. So he says he sees the police cars parked in various areas in the community where he lives. So what I am asking you guys, because apparently your town manager don't want to do it. I'm not setting up no meeting. I want the police department and the town manager to set up a meeting with the community. That way I don't have to be specific on what questions we're going to ask. You guys need to set up a meeting, because there's no way that we should be in our community feeling inferior, feeling targeted, and we don't feel like we are unified in this community, because you all know we don't. All the presentations were beautiful in those beautiful communities, but what about where I live? What about my community? I want to thank y'all so much, and God bless you. I'll wait for that meeting within 5 days. Thank y'all. Have a good one.
Up next, we have Ms. Jessie White.
It actually comes up, Mayor, if we could look into what Ms. Brown just said, because I have heard some similar concerns, and if we do have, if you could, Ms. Brown, forward whatever that is you have, someone who's saying they are feeling in safety or that they're being profiled, that we could look into that. And I'll tell Andrew, get with you.
Hello, Ms. Jessie.
Good evening. Good evening, Council. My name is Jessie White. I'm the South Coast Office Director for the Coastal Conservation League. Our office is located in Beaufort, but we cover all of Beaufort County, Jasper County, Colleton County, and Hampton counties in what we call the South Coast office. So on behalf of the Coastal Conservation League, we want to commend the town for proactively seeking to protect important and fragile wetland ecosystems, and we urge Council to approve the scope of work with McCormick Taylor to develop wetland and resilience ordinances. As outlined in the staff report, this work is consistent with your strategic plan priorities and your comprehensive plan. It will also close a significant regulatory gap created as a result of the United States Supreme Court Sackett decision, which removed federal protection for millions of acres of wetlands that are now vulnerable to impairment or complete loss. Our coastal marshes and wetlands provide incredibly valuable goods and services, including essential wildlife habitat, storm buffering, absorbing floodwaters, filtering pollutants, recreational opportunities, and boosting local economies. As South Carolina is now the fastest growing state in the nation, the need to develop local wetland protections is more urgent now than ever. Bluffton has been leading this region and the state, frankly, in terms of its stormwater management, and we see this opportunity to develop a wetlands and resilience ordinance as another opportunity for Bluffton to lead the region and the state in protecting our estuaries and watersheds. And in addition to the support of the Coastal Conservation League, I've been authorized to share that you have the full endorsement of local legend, former DNR biologist and executive director of the Waddell Maritime Center, Al Stokes, who could not be here this evening. But we thank you for your leadership and commitment to the resources that define and sustain our coastal environment and our quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you for what you do. Up next, we have Ms. Joy Coe.
Good evening, Mayor Toomer and council members. My name is Joy Coe, and I was born and raised in Beaufort County. I'm alarmed that the development appears out of nowhere and the detrimental impacts are ignored. I am focusing my allowed discussion on 3 issues. Whenever citizens voice concerns, they are told by elected town officials and staff that the development agreements were signed 20 years ago and there is nothing we can do. The town's website, however, shows multiple amendments to agreements. The 2008 Ninth Amendment to the Buckwater PUD has a provision that required the frontage partial developer to also construct a 1.6-mile north-south connector road. That provision, at a current estimate of $15 million, has thankfully curtailed interest in the Willow Run parcels. Now, out of nowhere, the town and school district are changing the agreement to allow development of over 140 acres of natural wildlife habitat and stormwater protection to the detriment of the environment, not to mention the traffic, air emissions, and drain to utilities, including water, sewer, trash collection, and electric demand. How come the agreement can be amended and now changed if there's nothing we can do? The May River was closed to shellfish harvesting in 2009. Since then, the town has spent taxpayer dollars and staff time to reduce coliform, which is only the indicator of a larger universe of contaminants allowed to flow without treatment into stormwater. Based on the agenda packet, the same areas of the main river remain closed after many years of initiatives, and worse, impervious area has increased by approximately 300%. And the result is Station 1916, the next station downstream from all the attention, has been steadily increasing and are getting dangerously close to closure. Where have all your ideas and initiatives got us? It is clearly time to change direction. Last, the town has submitted a green space application for 2 properties and is negotiating to purchase a 3rd property entangled in legal issues. That sounds like a change in strategy from development to conservation. However, as one legislator said, the devil is in the details. The town says they also want to purchase the easement that is labeled North-South Connector and the property that allows commercial development and the much opposed 5B road. The town talks about a passive park and access road for the park. If that is indeed accurate, the town council should remove the 5B project from last and should not continue spending taxpayer money on yet another study of the roadway. Transparency is lacking and required. Thanks for your time.
We didn't get your address when you
Oh, I'm
stated.
sorry, 5 Cottingham Road.
You got it, Marcia? Okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, up next, communications from good council. Start with you, Bridget.
Already invited community, just looking forward to reminding everyone to celebrate MLK holiday this upcoming week. It's a day on and not a day off. And would like to say happy Founders Day to all the D9 organizations celebrating their Founders Day this week and next.
Ms. Wood?
I just wanted to commend Bridget. When she was up there with you, Mayor, a minute ago about the MLK, and I've only been involved with council just over 9 years and tried to attend some of the events through the years and supported. And I know many players came before Bridget to help. You said 40 years, so I know you haven't been doing it for that long. But I think Bridget has taken it to another level. She's increased the participation level throughout the community. And so I just wanted to say I commend you for that.
Thank you.
Ditto. Fred? Mr. Hamilton?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Ms. Burton? I just want to tell everybody that this is 1 year sitting up here, and I just want to thank everybody for putting up with me for a year. I never professed to be perfect, and I know I haven't been, but I am learning. So, you got me for 3 more years, God, good Lord willing, and I'll continue to try to do my job as best I can. So, thanks for putting up with me. Okay, now we got council workshop agenda items. What are we doing here?
The next 2, it's formal agenda would be the next, Mayor.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was either. All right, we'll move to formal agenda items. First up is consideration of an ordinance authorizing an economic development incentive agreement between the town of Bluffton and Encompass Health. This will be second and final reading. Mr. David Nellis.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Happy New Year. Good to see you all again. And Mayor Toomer, congratulations on 1 year. So, the first one, again, this is second and final reading. You saw this last council meeting, Project Sable and Encompass Health. This is the expansion of their rehabilitation facility at 12th extension. No changes since the last meeting last week. And true Kevin Eichhardt style, I have a motion ready for you to go.
Okay. Well, we'll start by, This one should wait on. Yeah, should we wait on Dan to come back? Yes.
Point of personal preference for a second.
Sure.
Mr. Nels, I'd like to say that the former mayor has now taken some of your services at the Don Ryan Center, and she has been effusive in her praise. And it's nice to have, it's nice to hear that from someone who was around when it was started. So I share that with you if she has not.
Thank you very much. It's enjoyable to work with all the people we work with and sit across the table from them and see something that we would say every day, everybody, that we think everybody knows, and they don't know it, and you see their eyes spark because it's brand new, fantastic information to them. It's just very rewarding to see that. After 90 or 100 companies. It's really enjoyable. And it's nice to have her in the Don Ryan Center again.
Come a long ways.
That's come on.
Wrap it up. Party. Okay, is there a motion? Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I make a motion to approve second and final reading of an ordinance authorizing the town manager to enter into an economic development grant agreement between the town of Bluffton and Compass Health for Project Sable.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. David.
We got one more, and number 2.
Number 2, I got to be number 3. Oh, there it is.
Again, second and final reading. This is CS Instruments USA that makes the company based out of Germany that's turning their sales office in Bluffton into a headquarters. No changes on the actual plan of the grant, and I had it in the slide, but there was one question about the number of jobs, and they anticipate after build out 13 jobs at an average salary of $80,000. That was the question from council last year. So 13,000, 80,000, 13 jobs at $80,000 a year. So no other changes. And I have a motion ready for you.
I have follow-up questions.
Yes, sir.
Those are jobs, how many can be direct for residents of Bluffton?
As Mr. Forster mentioned last time, we always make that request, and I think in this specific case, a lot of these employees can be trained, and so we are putting a lot of emphasis on trying to hire Bluffton residents and train them into those jobs. It's always our desire.
Anything else from council? Is there a motion? Does somebody like to make this motion?
I'll make the motion, Mayor. I make a motion to approve second and final of an ordinance authorizing the town manager to enter into an economic development grant agreement between the town of Bluffton and CS Instruments USA, Inc.
Second. Any discussion from council? All in favor say aye. Aye. That's unanimous.
Sir. And I should point out that this lead came from us from the Beaver County Economic Development Corporation. I was remiss in not saying that last time, and they have been a tremendous partner for us. So just wanted to get a word for them.
Great, thank you. Up next, we have approval to authorize a task force authorization to McCormick Taylor, Inc. to develop wetland and resilience ordinances. Fiscal impact, $174,004.55. Ms. Kim Jones.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and Happy New Year. I'm going to go through this rather quickly. I don't think anybody wants to hear me, and I don't want to spread a lot of germs. Here before you to ask for your authorization for the town manager to execute a task authorization underneath an existing master service agreement, contract 2021-56, task authorization for McCormick Taylor to complete the following 7 items for fiscal impact of this fiscal year, $174,004.55. And this is to review all our current policies, identify inventory wetlands within our jurisdiction, develop a map of these said wetlands that need to be protected, develop a wetland ordinance, which we currently do not have, apply our comprehensive drainage study results into a map to identify with the Shy Institute that we've been doing work with, resiliency zones, identify primary conveyances for flood mitigation and protection in the future, enhancing resiliency again, and developing a resiliency ordinance for the town. This particular request is unanimously supported by WAPAC, the May River Watershed Action Plan Advisory Committee, resulting from their December 5th, 2024 meeting, where they both recommended not only town council support this effort by authorizing the town manager to enter into this task authorization with McCormick Taylor this fiscal year, but then moving forward into fiscal year 26, moving into developing a wetland restoration program. Currently, we're solely talking about those first 7 items And this scope of work with McCormick Taylor, fiscal year 26 is a different topic. So solely focusing on those 7 items now. Again, it's within the adopted budget for fiscal year 25, and the work can be completed in outline detail in the packet for the public. A little more detail of those 7 items is an attachment too. Why is this important? Jesse did a great job, and thank you for Coastal Conservation League's endorsement, as well as Mr. Stokes for this effort, as well as your service on WAPAC. We do appreciate it. I think Jesse hit the nail on the head. I'm not going to read all of this because you can. There is a regulatory gap that currently exists at the federal level, at the state level, and at the local level. Why? Because what was considered jurisdictional wetlands previously and under protection of the EPA and the Army Corps of Engineers no longer exists as of 2015 due to the Supreme Court Sackett decision. I'm not going to be able to explain all the detail legally that went into that, but they are no longer jurisdictional wetlands for a number of reasons as defined previously. Therefore, we have wetlands that have no protections currently. Without federal protections, they would fall to the state. The state has no federal protections outside of the Coastal Zone Consistency Act, which typically was enacting the Army Corps of Engineers definition of jurisdictional wetlands. You see the circular argument here. And then without that, we come to the state or down to the local level, and we don't have an existing current wetland protection regulations. We've also been undertaking this fiscal year and have the preliminary report from DNR on watershed. The preliminary, we'll get the final one in the next about 2 months. We'll be bringing that forward to WAPAC in April, hopefully. Y'all will be invited to attend. The May River Watershed Land Cover Assessment Report has quantified that in a 20-year period from 2000 to 21, within the town's jurisdiction, we've lost approximately 513 acres of wetlands already. Without any type of further protection, we don't know what will happen. So we do need to, again, define them, identify them, map them, protect them, as these are important for us for resiliency as well. We know that from our comprehensive drainage studies, we're running these future scenarios for different types of storm conditions and what we call a 25-year storm, 50-year storm, 100-year storm. Horrible names, right? These actually all have to do with percentages, not the fact that every 100 years you're going to have a storm that's really bad. We could have 300-year storm events in 3 days, such as a hurricane, right? Depending on the amount of rain they drop and when they drop it. So we need to also identify and protect these potential resilient zone areas that may or may not already be wetlands, but may be important to protect with an additional level of whether it's development codes, do they need more freeboard? We need to know things are changing, sea levels are rising. We have to protect our community and make it more resilient in the future. We need to take the outputs of these drainage studies and use them proactively to protect our community's investments in their homes and our infrastructure as a town. So the recommendation forward from WAPAC and staff is to authorize the town manager to issue this task authorization to McCormick Taylor to develop both the wetland and resilience ordinance for data gathering, analysis, and development of those ordinances for the town. And if approved, our next step is, of course, to schedule a kickoff meeting with the consultants and get that data collection and stakeholder engagement involvement going. Any questions? It's a lot of info I just dumped on you rather quickly.
Any questions?
I'm sorry.
You're good, Kim. I hope so.
I'm good enough.
You need more to let somebody know.
I am, so thank you.
Thank you, Kim, for your presentation on this. I know a few of us have been meeting and sharing our concerns with this. I think the fact that you're presenting it goes to show what we believe in Bluffton, and that is that we should leave the matters of science to those who have that expertise. And so I'm glad to see that we are coming up with our own policies around protecting our wetlands, because those who are unfamiliar with it, I really encourage everyone to go and read up on the Sackett case that we're all dealing with now, because it gutted federal wetland protections and stripped more than 60% of the designated wetlands that this country had federally protected away. So looking at water quality requirements that people ordinarily have to go in before dumping waste and stuff into our like surface water areas where we get drinking water and we swim in, are right now left just out, very vulnerable. So questions that I have for you on that, and looking at the plan that was outlined and what you all are going to be doing, as we go in and make our plans, are we, and this might be a you and a Terry question, are we going to be protected in the sense of, I know we have home rule where we're allowed to make our own jurisdiction and ordinances here, but would we be under any type of like restrictions at the federal level where they could come back and like repeal it and say, no, you need to abide by what we gutted from CWA and you cannot, you know, enforce your own rules?
I would say no. That clearly would not be our intent, is to have anything in place that could be then superseded by the state or the federal government. We are working not only clearly with our legal team, but we're also working with SCELB and with, help me Beth, SELC, South Carolina Environmental Law Center and South Carolina Environmental Law Project. We are, and they're giving us pro bono work because currently we are at the forefront of municipalities within the state answering this need, and they're looking at us with our development agreements, and we're unique but not alone, that what model they can put in place for us and what works for us, how that may be applied to other jurisdictions and may help other municipalities answer this need as well.
Thank you. My other question is, knowing that wetland protections is a conversation that has to be looked at in totality. So it's not just what's the water and body of water itself, it's everything working, you know, in tandem. So what that is also an opportunity, or I saw just a brief mention of like stormwater being covered in this too. I know we had a conversation before of like looking at our current stormwater system and those that may not have been regulated before on a commercial level and like even residential. Will this be something that this study comes back and identifies or addresses for us too when they're putting this plan together? Or is that something that we've given consideration?
That would be different. And we have, in fact, proposed for you a further discussion in 2 weeks at workshop for maximum extent practicable discussion and a fee in lieu for stormwater regulations and workshops and tweaking to both the Unified Development Ordinance. Primarily, this is for the design manual for stormwater. The information, obviously, the data are the data are the data, and they can be applied to multiple uses, but that's not the main purpose of this study for the resilience piece and for the wetland protection ordinance piece.
My question more so on that is, as we're going down this route and they're all connected, are we able to capture looking at current stormwater drainage or systems that are impaled or impacted or blocked right now that are not allowing for that runoff to be going where it could, that could be causing problems for our, you know, water
Downstream discharges? Help me.
So Kim, I think.
I'm not understanding, so I need you guys to help me, or yes, sir.
So I think she's talking about, I think it ties into the studies that we're doing for the drainage areas. And the next one, they actually are going to be coming back, and I forget the date, Bill, Kim may know it, to look at the Rose Dewin, which is the one where we had the issues during Hurricane Debbie. And we've done was it Hayward Cove or?
We've done Hayward, we've done Girard, we've done Crooked Coves. The next one is Rose Dew Creek. You gave us that feedback at strategic planning. Dan Ryback is putting together an expression of interest right now to issue another task authorization to initiate that work. Roughly, we're estimating that's going to be over $1 million, what, 1.6 million? Was that right, somewhere around there? And it'll go over a couple of fiscal years because it's a ginormous watershed. I still don't think that's getting at the crux of what you're asking. You're asking for an ordinance change to go back and enforce people to maintain things. That's why I'm saying help me. I'm not understanding. This is me.
I think she wants us to take those and include them in the resiliency to make sure that the resilience ordinance addresses the impacts that we're finding during those. But you got a bill?
Yeah, the short answer is yes, they will incorporate with our drainage studies and the other studies that we have in place. These all will dovetail into each other to then support the drainage and ordinances to control it.
Thank you. Well, that was definitely what I was getting at, because I just want to make sure
I knew I was not understanding. I'm so sorry.
I just want to make sure that as we're creating a plan, you know, when you're investing money, I think it's important always to know that what we're doing is not just something to be checking off boxes. Like, I want to make sure what we're doing is something that is being effective, that's addressing the concerns that we have, and making sure that we're not just looking at this plan to protect our wetlands and do the study as an isolated situation. And my last point is in looking at and choosing this particular firm, were there particular credentials of theirs, and I haven't done the point up, it says the particular credentials of theirs that stood out, like have they performed this type of work for a community similar to ours that made them a favorite or someone that could take this task on?
McCormick Taylor, yes ma'am, we put out a call for engineering services for stormwater services, and that's why they're under an existing master services agreement, along with a number of other firms for us as well. Following up on that, so that it didn't go out to bid specifically for this, was an internal process called an expression of interest that we undertake. And that is scoping out the project and what we envision the end result, the end goals being, sending that out to our MSAs and asking them to come back to us with an approach to that scope, timeline, and budget. So it's bidding within bidding, if you will. And to that end, McCormick Taylor had the most competitive submittal back to us in timeliness and in cost. Now, they do have also the knowledge. They are the ones who undertook the May River Watershed Action Plan update for us. So they're very familiar with our area and with our regulations, which obviously gives them an update that they were also involved in helping to draft the SoLoco design manual too.
And last point, not necessarily for you, but a concern that I wanted to ask our town manager and the rest of the council weigh in if they have any thoughts on it. But what I'm seeing that's coming out of this proposal is also in their price is a cost for them to write 2 ordinances for us. And I saw something similar a few months ago with the review and study from our PD, where the group would also be writing their ordinances. I'm concerned in terms of looking at cost. I get the need for the wetlands protections, but when it comes to we're contracting out for others to write ordinances, and those 2 totals are almost like $250,000 when you look at it. I'm just wanting a little more understanding of why we're contracting out for others to write ordinances when we have staff that I believe is qualified in doing that, and where that hasn't always been a practice and such a heavy reliance. Is that something new that we're doing, or is there a reason that we are deferring to having someone else write ordinances for us?
It's not anything new, but it has to do with the scope and the fact that this is something that has not been undertaken by, like they outlined earlier. The legal aspects of this go beyond what our capacities are, and that's what we've contracted with them to help them put together, and we've worked with outside legal groups to help do that. the actual writing of the ordinance, I think, makes up.
The wetland ordinance of the total cost is 8.5% of the total cost, and the resilience ordinance makes up 6% of the total cost. The majority of the work is actually in the data gathering, the analysis, the mapping.
Okay, what's the dollar amount of that 6 point whatever percent, that 8%?
I don't have a calculator on me, I don't know off the top of my head, it's not in your notes.
The two combined is $25,425 for the ordinances. So that's 14.61% of that 174 is just for the ordinances. Everything else, the majority of the cost is in the data collection and the mapping, because that is.
It's never been done.
Yeah.
It's the first time we're ever doing it in the town of Bluffton.
I understand, I just have a concern in terms of like, I want to make sure that when we're looking at ordinances, because Bluffton is unlike any other place, and if it's something that we're getting a cost to a group to do that ordinance, which we still have to bring it back on our legal side, that may also be billed in getting involved in too. Like, I don't want to, I'm concerned in seeing like that funds would be extracted from outside our network just for writing and crafting ordinances. I understand what you're saying, that it's new, but I just want to make sure that that's not something that we're becoming super reliant on. I like to see that in the
I
workshop.
appreciate your vote of confidence, but I'm going to be honest with you. This well exceeds your current staff's capabilities. We do not have the talent in-house and knowledge to draft we would have Terry's group write it and pay them all the money. You know what I mean? This one's out of our wheelhouse, but I love your confidence.
I'm not saying I'm anti that we're doing it this time. I'm just saying it's a concern if this would become, and every time we're doing a study, we would be spending money for someone else to write an ordinance, is what I'm saying. I don't want us to see us go down that trend because there are other priorities too.
Only if we can't do it, ma'am. Only if we can't do it. We know our own.
That would be the hope. If you can't, you do have to defer out. If this is a last ditch thing, which is why I'm asking the question. This isn't in our norm. I just want to make sure that this doesn't become something that is a consistent thing. So if it's not, I'm asking the question because I needed that clarification.
Yes, and I do not anticipate this being something that is done every time. This is, and when they brought this to me, we had that conversation. And that was one of the conversations, we actually had it with them and we had it in our legal meeting to ask that conversation. And even legal's recommendation was we need to bring somebody in because, again, we're wanting to be as timely with this as we possibly can.
Right.
So having them with a specific focus on this and their expertise, the goal was to have an ordinance that we can put into place as quick as we can and make sure that it meets the guidelines that we need it to meet to make sure it's defendable. And we will continue to involve legal in it, but it was a joint conversation amongst staff and legal to make sure this was the direction we wanted to take.
It is so scientific and so specific to our locale, and there's not a lot of other places we can go and find one.
Right.
So it was our opinion that between staff and our office, these people are probably better equipped to do it. So.
And as Kim outlined, there are others that are waiting to see what we put into place because they're under the same situation and they're waiting on our ordinance to come for y'all so they can adopt something similar. So again, this is not something we want to continue to be a trend, but only as specific as something like this when it is, we need expertise.
Thank you, Stephen, for that.
I understand your concern. Thank you.
Mr. Woods, questions?
If I remember correctly, Stephen, we talked to a couple of local legislators. And we brought this to their attention, the wetland portion of it. And we've also talked to them about the flooding and things like that. But I don't think the state, if I remember correctly from that meeting, has actually taken this and put this on their agenda yet, have they?
When we talked to our local legislative leaders, they indicated that the state leadership has not stated that there's any kind of pre-filed legislation or anything to address wetlands at the state level.
So my next question is, and I think we're being resilient with being proactive. I'm glad we are. It's needed. And obviously, we fit into a region. It's not just the main river that we have to be concerned about, it's the region. And I'm curious, so throughout the county, including the county and the other municipalities in our county, our own backyard, are there any others that are doing anything on the resiliency front that we've been having our in-depth discussions about, or wetland protection? And another thing that we have learned recently, that we've been engaged with the local people and dealing with staff was, and you touched on this a minute ago, we found out that some of the checks and balances we thought we had in place weren't the best because there was no enforcement action allowed for some of these checks and balances. And I know that staff is working, I talked with Bill, and I know y'all are working to go that direction to get these check and balances in place. But I guess when you look at it holistically, from a big view, who else is working on this?
You answer. So what I will say is we've had numerous meetings with Beaufort County. They are aware both on the resilience side and the wetlands protection side. I think that they are, again, waiting on us to see what we do. There was some interest at that point in time for if this goes through and if we move forward with this work, to present this through SoLoco to get more buy-in from a regional perspective. And so that's kind of where we are on the wetlands protection side. I think, again, a broken record, but, people really are waiting to see what we do to initiate this work regionally. So that's where we are.
And I will say, and I'm gonna put Heather on the spot here, I think in talking with her counterpart across the island, across the bridge, Hilton had just contracted to do a resiliency plan to a similar group, and I think they're paying, do you remember what the number was, Heather? I want to say it was.
I believe it's just for that is more than.
What we're paying for this. Their resiliency plan is more than our total contract for both of these.
Yeah.
So I know they're looking to do one as well. But I don't think it includes the wetlands. It just includes, they don't have as many freshwater inland wetlands because of being as coastal as they are. Theirs is more just resiliency planning.
And that was wetland specific.
And I was more curious how much about the county as anyone, coincidentally, because I've been checking my own properties for flooding, and there's different sites you can go to with rankings on flooding and et cetera. And I stumbled across just purely by accident looking at the watersheds the other day that, for example, Sun City has over 1,000 houses, maybe 1,300, that within projections are based on, I guess it was FEMA or somebody, it's very possible within the next 30 years, the right flood come along, they'll be impacted. So it's universal, it's everywhere. And so I hope collectively everybody gets on the same train and starts sharing the information, not just us leading the parade, but everybody needs to participate in this conundrum.
Yes, and I will say the county held a workshop with Furman University Shy Institute to try to start a regional resilience working group. And both Kim and I were able to attend that workshop. And so there is a level, at the county level, there is interest in getting all the partners at the table to discuss resilience because we all are in the same boat. Looking to the future.
And Mayor, may I make one more observation? One thing I'm curious about through our group, your group, a lot of the construction that took place everywhere years ago was based on the 25-year storm. All right, so the storm systems are set up for 25-year flood, right? So we know they're inadequate today. So, I think our new standards is 100, is it correct? So when you look at resiliency, I know that we're looking at trying to make, a little more pervious here or do this over there, and, drainage, etc. But are we weighing all of this based on what the construction model was for that particular time? I mean, how do you solve this? You're going to have a different problem with a 25-year storm plane than one that's been designed at 100.
So what we're trying to do is not necessarily retrofit what's already in the ground, but try to come along with solutions that will enhance what is there. So we have communities out there that are at the 25-year standard. Our new communities will be at 100. But what can we do in between those communities to bolster flooding, water quality, all this? And that comes to our wetland restoration program, which we'll talk about in the future, but also just protecting what's there. We can use these wetlands as a way to mitigate some of this development that we have. So we put the 100-year developments in place, we watch the 25-year developments, and then use these restoration projects in the future to mitigate what needs to be done in between. Now again, that's coming to the future. We haven't got there yet. First thing is get this done, then move into the resiliency and restoration projects, and then we can fix some problems we have. It's always more expensive to fix what's already there than it is to do beforehand. And again, by doing some of these wetland ordinances, we're able to keep anything else from happening downstream. So it will be cheaper in the long run, even though it will cost us money going forward. But we're trying to balance the three out. What's happened has happened, but we'll see what we can do in between. So that's
Thank you.
Mr. Hamilton.
That's too much to comprehend. If we build 100-year properties or developments now, how does that affect someone that built next door that have a 25-year?
So they just have to handle the stormwater for the 100-year storm. So their requirements are essentially more stringent than those that predated the town's stormwater volume control ordinances. So, you know, we have some very old neighborhoods in Bluffton, and those standards were much lower than our standards today.
So if you built a 100-year a community built to the current standard, they have to treat for the 100-year storm. That just means they're not going to release as much water as a community that has a 25-year standard. So it won't impact downstream, and that's part of the review requirements for the stormwater, is to make sure that 10% upstream, 10% downstream are not impacted by any new development. So it really not part of what we're talking about now, but the 100-year impact will not affect downstream or upstream communities.
Bridget brought up some great questions that I didn't even think about until she don't have nothing to do at night, so she studies and stuff. But she brought up some great arguments, and one of the things that Kim alluded to that I hope we never do again is that we didn't bid this out. You know, anytime we spend this kind of money.
Excuse me, sir, may I interrupt you?
No, you can't interrupt me. Hold on. Well, anytime we spend this kind of money, we have to bid things out. That's supposed to be a part of our policy procedure. So if this was something that you wanted to do because we needed to buy time, and time is important, I think it's important to save our wetlands. I really do. But let's not do this, let's not make this a practice. Let's always follow the policies and procedures, because we don't want to ever get in a place where we didn't give the proper procedures and policies is due diligence. The other point question we have to be proactive. We have to probably even at this point in time, we might be reactive, because we have to deal with stuff that has been going on for such a long time, especially our drainage system. So I'm glad that we can see in this process the progress that we have with stormwater drainage throughout town, and especially out in Buck Island Road, where we have a lot of problems. You know, we had a study done, having a study done now that I questioned when we got it, that we would be updated periodically of how things were going. When will we get an update on that?
So I actually was just speaking to Heather and Kim about that today. So we've got kind of two major studies that the town has been undertaking that we anticipate having the results in the first quarter of this year. That is the resiliency analysis that you all have heard so much about, that we've been working with the South Carolina Sea Grant Consortium. And then we have the May River Watershed Baseline Assessment Update that the Department of Natural Resources has been undertaking for the town. And so we were looking at potentially an April date to have those lead researchers on both of those projects present those findings both to WAPAC and to Town Council.
So, and with the drainage studies that we got going in Crooked Cove, they're halfway through, where they've done the field surveys, and they're getting the models together right now. So as soon as that's done, probably late April timeframe, that will also be ready. We have lots of these coming up and ready to present, and we'll present to WAPAC and then to council.
Thank you.
Ms. Burton?
Thank you for leading the state on this. I think this is something that we badly need, both the resilience ordinance and the wetland protection. So I want to first of all thank you on that. What is the time frame? Like, how long is this expected to take, and when will we hopefully see something?
Yeah, so the current timeline is probably 6 to 12 months. Obviously, we're going to have public comment periods and legal review throughout this process. So I would shoot more towards like the 12-month time frame. But, you know, we're ready. If we get the approval today, we're ready to hit the ground running, and we will be working as hard as we can to get something in place as soon as we can.
And to go back to a little bit about your procurement on this, we did put this out for bid to our MSAs, which we have 4 different engineering firms that have MSAs with the town, and McCormick Taylor was the lead on those submittals. So it was put out for interest, and they were the ones that won out. So we did go through that process.
That's not the way it was explained. Okay.
Anything else, Ms.? Oh, go ahead, Terry.
Council, the Sackett decision made us all just sit back and scratch our head and go like, what's next? Where are we going to go? And I always think it's better for us to be in the forefront, to be the leaders of what's going on. It's in the budget. It's supported by, Jesse was here to tell us about their support, WAPAC support. I think this is vital that we go as fast as we can and be as thorough and competent and get our arms around this, and we can be the leaders in this. And I think that's what Kim and her group are trying to get us doing, because everybody else is kind of sitting back looking at us. You got to take the lead, and I would urge us to let's go as fast as we can, but let's be as thorough and as competent as we can. And our office drafted these ordinances. I can spell ordinance. I can know how many votes, but as far as the scientific guts that these ordinances need, we need somebody like these folks and our staff to get it to the finish line. So, thank you.
You want to say something else?
You know, while we take the lead, as obviously we're going to do some heavy lifting financially. So I think next time we should say Hardyville, Beaufort, Jasper, whoever, you can pitch in and help us pay the bill. Because they're going to use our information, our studies, to better their communities. All right?
All right, you got something else?
Yeah, I'll go after you.
I about forgot what I wanted to say already. Well, first of all, like I'd mentioned in some of our meetings earlier, I know this is its own ordinance, this protection of the wetlands. It is directly tied to stormwater. You know, it is one of the same. What we have to do, and that's why I totally support, I want it done right, I want it enforceable. And if it takes 5 different organizations to make it where it will stick, and because it will be challenged. You know, we have to remember, as more is built, property values are coming up all the time. People are going to, developers or individuals or whatever, are going to want to fill in more and more and more for the next 50 years or 100 years. So we have to have an ordinance that has teeth that can be enforced. And I think being a part of the stormwater picture, we can implement it as soon as it's an ordinance and not have to wait. We can use it on properties that are already under development agreements, such as our stormwater ordinance. So I want it done fast and as bulletproof as possible, and I got my vote for it. So go ahead, Mr. President.
Just wanted to add to that, to Councilman Hamilton, I am never short of things to do. But this is, you know, something near and dear. Dan and I are definitely like the green ones, have always advocated for that, as many of us. But we brought this up almost 2 years ago at Legislative Action Day when we found out that South Carolina's DHEC is changing over to Department of Ag, and they were having no protections. And so we've definitely been the leaders, I think not just in the area, Bluffton's probably leading here in the state. And we really took issue when, I think Bill, you were with me that day with Heather, a property owner in Simmonsville is always flooded when storms happen, but someone's building up and all that runoff was just coming on and saturating their yard so much that they're getting water inside of their storage shed and other things. And that day it was like, what, there's nothing really we can enforce because we don't have ordinances. So, you know, we've been proponents of it, and I'm proud that Bluffton leads the way. We did it for the hate crime support. We're doing it in this instance. We created a reforestation plan. So I'm glad for people to know that we do believe that climate change is real and we're willing to protect our environment here. So grateful to you guys and the work that you do, and for my colleagues and their support too.
Okay. Any more discussion? Do we have a motion?
I don't even know how to do it.
You guys need to work with Kevin the next time.
There you go, yeah. I'm not used to coming up here, so you gotta
Kevin's
forgive
second
me.
slide of the presentation is the motion.
Would somebody like to make a motion?
Sure.
I move to approve and authorizing the town manager to issue a task authorization to McCormick Tiller Incorporated to develop town wetlands and resilience ordinance with a fiscal impact of $174,000 and $4.55.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Up next, we have a consideration of an ordinance amending the Town of Bluffton fiscal year 2025 budget to provide for the expenditures of certain funds and to allocate sources of revenue for the said funds. Ms. Natalie.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have the second budget ordinance for fiscal year 2025 for your consideration. This budget adjustment this budget ordinance includes an increase of $500,000 to business license, and then use of prior year funds, $24,000 in tree remediation for additional tree survey in the right-of-way, and then $9,250 for a dump trailer to assist with those surveys. Again, for general fund, it's $533,250. The expenditures, $500,000 of that will go to CIP for land acquisition, and then $24,000 for the tree survey, and then for the dump truck, I keep calling it dump truck, it's the dump trailer, sorry. The increase in CIP is the $500,000 transfer in from general fund for land acquisition. And here, the total budget amendment is $1,033,250, and we are $12 shy of $104 million in total consolidated budget. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Hamilton? Mr. Wood?
So when I read this, I looked at my sweet little wife and I said, "Do you know how much our budget is now?" And I said, I was elected in 2016, I don't know what it was, but in 2018, it was around 20 million. So we've grown about 500% in the budget. And she says, "Well, then cut my taxes." And I said, "Honey, we've done that 3 times, and I was sitting on council when it happened." So it is a big budget. It's a big budget. We've grown tremendously in the last X amount of years, and I'm good with what I read.
Thank you.
Ms. Frazier? Okay, somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make it, Mayor. I make a motion to approve the first reading of an ordinance amending the Town of Bluffton fiscal year 2025 budget to provide for the expenditures of certain funds and to allocate sources of revenue for the said funds.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is our consent agenda items. Is there anyone on council that would like to remove or discuss any items on consent? Anybody? Not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you for a second. Second discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. That's unanimous. Okay, we will be going into executive session related to the proposed conveyance of development rights for the purpose of affordable housing in the Buckwalter PUD pursuant to South Carolina Freedom of Information Act 30-4-70A2. We are in executive session.
I'll be ready.
to approve a resolution of support for Beaufort Memorial Hospital's 120 residential dwelling unit affordable housing and medical facility project at 335 Buckwalter Parkway and acquisition of necessary residential development rights.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any conversation, questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Motion.
And we are
All right.
adjourned.